We have discussed by now the buyer's remedies and seller's remedies we have already discussed when we have discussed the rights of the unpaid seller. Now we move to the another topic, that is the auction sale. We must have listened this term in our routine life, auction. Now what is the meaning of auction and why it is important to discuss this topic here? And when we talk about the sales of goods, this is one of the sales which is very popular. When we This is the auction sale. So what is the meaning of auction sale? One of the modes of the sale in public is the auction sale, when different buyers come to a particular place to purchase the goods and goods are sold to that person who pay the highest price for a particular article. That is a auction sale, that is an auction sale. And what happened in the auction sale? The in auction sale, either the seller of the goods sell the goods themselves, or he can appoint an agent for the sale of the goods who is known as the auctioneer. And there is always an agency relationship between the auctioneer and the owner of the goods, means the person who is performing the task of selling the goods on the behalf of the seller. The person would be known as the auctioneer, and there would be the agency relationship between both of them. Reason being, the auctioneer is working as an agent for the seller. Now, how this auction sale is being done? What is the procedure of auction sale? Let's discuss that in detail. One, first of all, an advertisement is being given in the newspapers to sell the good of regarding the sale of the goods, and in the newspaper all the terms and conditions of the sale are also being advertised. Second, in the then the auctioneer, if the sale is to be done by the auctioneer, then the auctioneer is being appointed, and the auctioneer fixes the time and place of the sale where the goods would be sold. Then the intending buyers means the persons who are willing to take the delivery of the goods would come to a particular place for give their bids means they what are their intention to pay the price, means how much price they want to pay for the article, that is known as the bid. And this bid is being given during the process of auction sale. Now on the fixed date and on the fixed place, the bidders come for their to offer their respective prices for that particular article for which the advertisement was made. And it's very interesting to know here when the how the sale is being completed. When the bidders give their bids, then the person who have given the highest bid is being taken by the auctioneer, and he loudly speaks what are the prices being offered. Like, let's say there is an article, there is an antique vase which the seller wants to say, and the person in a auction sale says it's for rupees 1 lakh, and another person says I am willing to pay 1 lakh 25,000. Then the auctioneer will loudly speak 1 lakh 25,000. That means it's an intimation to all the bidders sitting there. That means if any person wants to pay more than 1,25,000, the person can give his bid. Now the bidder who wants to purchase the good, they can give the higher prices. Means in this example, the another bidder can go for 1 lakh 30, 1 lakh 40, 1 lakh 50, and so on. That means bidders go on offering more and more prices, and goods are sold to the person who will give the highest bid at the last. And this highest bid constitutes an offer to buy. This cannot be considered as a as an sale. This is always known as the offer to buy. And when at the last step in the auction sale, that is the fall of the hammer or any other customary announcement means the auctioneer can say कि at the saying of 3 the sale would be performed. That means 1, 2 and 3, this is a final announcement. Or he can the fall of the hammer would also decide that this is an acceptance of the offer by the auctioneer or to the highest bidder. This is clear from the case of M. Lachia Sethi versus Coffee Board. The court decided that the auctioneer is not bound to accept the highest bid. He may reserve the right to refuse any bid or to accept a lower bid in preference to a higher one. This case gives a very strange decision that the normally we say that in case of auction sale the person who gives the highest bid is being is able to buy the thing, but in case of this case the court decided that it is not always that auctioneer is bound to accept the highest bid. That means the auctioneer can ignore the highest bid in some specific cases. He can refuse any bid and he can accept a lower bid in preference of a higher one too. Now, what are the rules regarding the auction sale? Section 64 says that one is the completion of auction sale. How when the auction sale is completed, as I said that the when the auctioneer gives the fall of the hammer or says any customary words, there is a completion of auction sale. Let's see the example. A, an auctioneer offered to sell some furniture by auction. Various bidders attended the auction and B's bid, which was highest, was accepted by A by striking down the hammer on the table. In this case, the sale is complete as soon as the auctioneer strike down the hammer. Second, restriction of bid. Before the completion of sale, the bidder has right to withdraw his bid. Let's suppose one bidder has given the bid, like one has given the bid for rupees 1 lakh, another has given 1 lakh 25,000, but before 1 lakh 25,000 is being finalized for selling the article, every bidder has the right to withdraw his bid before the final sale, before the completion of sale. And this is based on the principle that the bid is an offer and it can always be revoked any time before its acceptance, as we have read in the topic of offer and acceptance. This is also clear within the case of Pine versus Cave. Let's see the details of the case. A, an auctioneer held a public auction for the sale of certain goods. B attended the auction and made the highest bid for the goods, but B withdrew his bid before the fall of the hammer. The auctioneer contended that there was a completed sale when B offered to purchase the goods by giving his bid. But it was held that B's bid was an offer and it could be revoked any time before the fall of the hammer. The crux of the case is there is always a right with the bidder that he can withdraw his bid before the fall of the hammer or before the saying of some customary words. That means before the completion of the sale, any time bidder can withdraw his bid. Third in this is the transfer of ownership. In case of auction of specific goods, once the hammer falls, there is a sale of specific goods. But if the goods are in the deliverable state and if the goods are the specific, the highest bidder becomes the owner of the goods and he can deal the goods at his own. This is clear from the case of Ganga Sagar Sugar Mills versus Rameshwar Das. The public auction was held for the sale of sugar bags of specified lot and number with which were in undeliverable state also. It was held by the court that the ownership passed to the highest bidder when the papers were completed after knocking down the process. So, where the goods sold by auction are not of a specific nature, we have read the goods are of specific nature, but when they are not of specific nature and also not in a deliverable state, ownership will not pass to the buyer till the goods are knocked down to him, means till the goods are made in a specific form and goods are converted into a deliverable state. If the goods were not in a deliverable state, the court held that the ownership could not pass on the fall of the hammer. This is clear in the Consolidated Coffee Limited versus Coffee Board case. Next point under this is the seller's right to bid. As the buyer has the right to withdraw his bid, Similarly, seller has also the right to bid for the sale, bid for the auction sale. Actually, what happens? Sometimes seller has apprehensions that bidders may enter into a knockout agreement. Knockout agreement means the bidders can have an agreement between themselves so that the price of a good cannot be raised. They can give the low price biddings for with their mutual consent. So to avoid it, the seller may either bid himself or may appoint a person to bid on his behalf too. Here, if the seller appoints more than one bidders, then the auction sale becomes voidable, because in that case it is being known that the seller is pretending bidding to raise the price of the sale. So then if this is being found, it becomes voidable at the option of the buyer to get that article or not to get. This is clear from this example. An auctioneer held a public auction for the sale of a horse. It was notified that the seller or anyone person on his behalf may also bid. B attended the auction and made the highest bid of rupees 2000, which was accepted by A by the fall of his hammer. Later on, B came to know that seller had appointed three persons to bid on his behalf. Now it is at the option of the B to perform the contract or not. As said, the seller can appoint only one person or can bid himself. If he appoints more than one persons to bid in a auction sale, this auction sale becomes the voidable contract. Next point in this is a fraudulent sale. If the seller has not reserved his right to bid at the auction, he cannot bid at the auction. Means before the auction sale, before giving the bid in an auction sale, the seller has to reserve his right to bid at the auction, and he can also appoint any person for this reserve, for this right. And if he does so, the buyer may treat the sale as the fraudulent sale. Means if he don't reserve his right to the bid at the auction before the auction sale, the buyer may treat the whole contract as a fraudulent sale, and then he may refuse to take the delivery of goods sold to him. There is an example. An auctioneer held a public auction for the sale of certain carpets, and it was notified that seller has the right to bid at the auction. B attended the auction and made the highest bid. Subsequently, he came to know that one person was bidding on behalf of seller, so he can refuse to accept the carpet sold to him. Next point is auction sale with reserve of upset price. What is the meaning of reserve of upset price? Sometimes the seller is not willing to sell his articles, sell his goods less than a particular price. So he can fix a minimum price, he can fix a upset price for his goods. That means if this price is fixed, this would help him to protect himself against the knockout agreements. Like if say Mr. A wants to sell his antique vase, and he wants to sell it at a minimum price of rupees 1 lakh, he can make this a minimum price, make this an upset price. There are dual reasons. One, he don't want to sell the good less than that price. Second, he wants to protect himself from the knockout agreements of the bidders. So in this case, if the auctioneer don't want to accept any highest bid, if he is not willing, he can refuse it. In other words, we can say if any person gives the bid lower than the upset price, the auctioneer can always avoid that bid, because that is lower, that is minimum, that is less than the upset price. And if by mistake auctioneer knocks down the goods, means if he falls his hammer for the less than the reserve price, seller can refuse to deliver the goods to the buyer because he has already given his consent, he has already given his mind to sell the goods on a minimum price, on an upset price. In short, if I conclude it, means if any seller don't want to sell any good below a certain price, he can set a minimum price, or in other words the upset price for that. And in that case, the auctioneer is not bound to select the highest bid, means he would not give the goods at the price less than that specific mentioned price. And if the auctioneer by mistakes knocks down the goods to the buyer, even then seller has the right to refuse the delivery of the goods to the buyer. And when the no price minimum price is fixed by the seller, and the auctioneer is notified without any reserve price, this is called without reserve auction sale. And in that condition, auctioneer can sell the goods at the conditions he like. This is clear from the case of Coffee Board versus Famous Coffee and Tea Works. In an auction sale of coffee, one of the conditions was that the seller does not bind himself to accept the highest bid or any bid. He is not bound to assign any reason for his decision, and his decision shall be final. The condition was held valid. The court observed that it gave a right to the seller to accept any bid highest or the lowest. It conferred upon the seller and right to accept a lower bid in preference to a higher one. So this was the process of the auction sale. At last, let's read the implied warranties in an auction sale. There are implied warranties in the contract of auction sale. 1. The auctioneer warrants his authority to sell the goods on the behalf of his principal. As I have already said, there is a relationship of agency between the principal and the auctioneer, means between the seller and the auctioneer. So here the auctioneer gives the warranty that he has the authority to sell the goods on the behalf of the principal. He also warrants that he knows of the no defect in the principal's title. That means the seller is the true owner of the goods. He don't have any defective title. Third, he warrants that the possession of goods would be given to purchaser against the payment of the price, means the possession would be definitely transferred to the purchaser once he pay the requisite price of the goods. And last, he warrants the quiet possession of goods by the purchaser.